You would have thought I would have gotten that one wrong, but I didn't, because you went 3, 2, 2.5, 1, record, and I still nailed it right on the dot. Hey everyone,
Except we're
welcome to
live and now
episode
there's
137. What's that now?
except we're live and there's all this preamble on the stream now.
Yeah, I know. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 137. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. We've got a lot of stuff going on. It's like once the new Laravel News website was launched, that everybody decided they wanted to write an article, and so we've got a lot of good stuff here. Got a lot of release information, some news, some packages, some tutorials, a little bit of everything. And want to also start our show off by thanking our sponsor, Scout APM. So Scout APM is an application performance monitoring tool for your PHP applications. We'll be talking a little bit about that later in the show. Mr. Dorinda, how's it going, my friend?
Well, I'm going well. We went out to have lunch with my grandma today, and
Nice.
I've not seen Eli eat as much as he has eaten today ever, and it just gave him. I was just saying to you before the show, it gave him so much energy, and
Oh,
he
my
was
word.
just he was eating. He had some hot chips. He had some chicken nuggets. He was eating Ree's like chicken stir fry noodles. He was eating garlic bread, and he was
Just finishing off everybody's
just eating
leftovers, just like
everything, just
demolishing them.
and then just running laps around the table. So, and then he's refused a nap. So we're gonna have to
Oh,
get
that's
through this
awesome.
episode because I'm gonna have to go and help out my
Okay.
poor wife before
All right.
he drives her insane.
We'll keep this one tight. Hey, I wanted to clarify for our American audience, hot chips, are those French fries in American?
You would call
Englishese? What do we
fries,
call them?
yeah.
What are hot chips?
You would call them fries. So fries are fries because they're like thin cut, whereas chips are thicker.
Yeah, sure. Yep.
Like
okay,
if you,
gotcha. Yeah, so like potato wedges
yeah,
is what we
yeah.
call
Well,
them.
not quite that thick.
Not quite
There's
that
a
thick.
medium.
Okay,
There's
so
a
it's an
medium.
in-between.
There's a medium of fried potato baton that is between the French fry and the potato wedge that is like a hot chip.
Okay, fair enough.
Just
Hey,
to confuse
did you
things.
see Eric? Yeah.
Eric did.
Eric Barnes
The
said
Belgian
something. He said
fries.
like the French have the fries and the whatever, and the Belgian dudes were like, sir, do you need me to come to America and kick your butt? Like the Belgians are the fry people. So I gotta get me some Belgian fries, man. Next time we're in Belgium, let's go hang out in Belgium for some Laravel stuff or something. We'll have to grab some chips, grab some hot chips, some fries, whatever. So
Absolutely.
anyway, hey, let's jump into it here. So we've got 8.27. So with our releases here, got a little bit of a difference. We're kind of focusing on the features that each release kind of brought along with it, rather than just all of the notes that go along with the release. So with 8.27, we have adding multiple columns after a column in migrations. So if you have a database migration that's already been it's already been run, and you now want to add a new column, a lot of times you'll follow this convention where like you have all your IDs and your relationships at the beginning of the table, and you have all of your timestamps at the end of the table. And if you just add a new column, it's going to go ahead and go to the end of the table. Well, that's no bueno if you want to have like all your timestamps at the end. So what you can use this after string, which is great, except for if you're going to add multiple columns and you want them in a specific order. What you always had to do previously was you'd had to add them in like reverse order. So if you wanted to say like you have a name and you wanted to add full name and address, right? And you want to, so in your database, you want the columns to be name, full name, or let's say first name, full name, address. You want to add full name and address, okay? What you used to have to do is you'd have to say after name, add address, and then after name, add full name. And then it would go full name and then address. So you'd have to add them in reverse. Well, now you no longer have to do that. You have table after the column that you wanted to come after, and then you have a closure, which you then can then put them in the correct order, and it will automatically do that for you. It'll kind of automatically do that reversal for you, so you don't have to do this sort of like mental jujitsu to figure out how in the world you need to order those things. So that's pretty awesome. And I'm not exactly sure who put that in. I think it might have been Muhammad. Muhammad talked about it in any case on Twitter.
Yeah,
he
Muhammad
put it in
put
there.
it together.
So yes, that's 8.27. So thanks, Muhammad. That's a good one. Appreciate it. And we will definitely be using that. All right. What else we got?
The next up, the release of Laravel 8.28, Taylor contributed 2 new custom cast types. The first one is as array object, and the second is as collection. Array object has some advantages over the existing cast for JSON and array data. The pull request description has excellent details to get you up to speed with what these casts bring to Laravel 8. So you may be familiar that if you declare a casts property in your model, you can define an array of key to value. So the key being the field in your database and the value being the cast that you want to do. So you might use this to cast a number, a numeric field in your database to an integer in PHP, which makes doing comparison between things like ID columns easier. Or you could have Boolean, so you would cast Boolean so that it actually returns a true or false as opposed to a 0 or 1 and things like that. So you can store an array in your database, and then Laravel will handle casting that to JSON when you save to your database record and returning it as an array, as a plain PHP array when you retrieve that. This does have some downsides. For example, if you were to try and set the value of a nested key in that array, it would not actually work. You would have to override the entire array in order to mutate it. So you would have to know the existing values, or you'd have to do some array merge gymnastics to kind of make sure that you don't blow away or completely replace that array with the value, the singular value that you're trying to change. So with the new cast using Eloquent's custom cast feature, this implements more intelligent management and caching of objects. An as array object will cast the underlying JSON string to a PHP array object instance, which this was new information to me. I've been doing PHP for 15, 16 years now, and I didn't know about this array object thing, which is kind of nice.
Me either. Yeah, I'm just learning about this too. Yeah.
And so the class is included in the standard library of PHP and allows an object to behave like an array. And using this approach, it makes it possible to sort of update a nested value within an array without having to override the whole thing. You can't use array object in functions like array map, but you can cast the array object to an array or a collection using toArray or collect method on that cast object. So I've done my best, as always, probably failed to explain code. There are some good examples that Taylor put into the pull request, that he got some consultation from the community about that before getting that merged in. So that was available as of Laravel 8.28. Definitely check out the pull request. It's number 36245. We'll have a link to it in the show notes for details on the implementation, and be sure to read over the PR description, which does an excellent job of explaining the current state, or the previously current state of casting array data and the benefits of the new array object and collection casts. And definitely check out the PHP documentation as well to learn more about the array object, which has been around since PHP 5. So yeah, it's nice.
I clicked to find out more about that array object class, and we accidentally linked the pull request again on that one. So we'll just have to look it up. But
get that fixed up.
Yeah. So to clarify, just from my own brain, it's the array object is not an array that acts as an object. It's an object that acts as an array.
That is correct.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. Right. So it's like an object array, or it's actually an array. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like the string. A stringable is an object that behaves like a string.
Right. You got it. That's great. That's a great parallel. Yeah, correct. Yeah, very cool. I like that a lot. And kind of the points he brings up are finer points of like, if you ever used that before, you may have run into that exact problem. And we do that exact thing that he talks about, basically taking a little string and casting it to JSON or an array. But I've yet to kind of bump into this problem. But it's good to know. It's one of those, maybe not even an edge case, but it's anyway, it's a good observation, good thing to know. Okay, yeah. I'll move on and quit rambling here. 8.29. So Laravel team released 8.29 with a setup test database callback that is used in parallel testing. We also have support for closures and factory sequences, a collect method on the HTTP client response, and lots of other cool changes. So let's talk about the setup test database. So parallel testing has been around for a little bit now, not for too long, but parallel testing, essentially, if you haven't heard of that yet or done that yet, it allows you can say parallel testing : set up test database, and then in there you just call artisan call db seed. So it's like you have a new macroable thing for parallel testing almost. Is that kind of like what it seems like to you, Michael? So it's
Mhm.
like parallel testing, you have a new method called setup test database, and now you're just calling db seed in there. And so there's documentation for this under parallel testing hooks in the
Mhm.
testing documentation. But it seems like you could actually even utilize this to do other things that you'd like to be able to accomplish inside parallel testing as well. This just happens to be the first one that they've kind of like talked about in the documentation. So this is pretty cool. Yeah, if you need to be able to seed the database and while you're doing parallel tests, this is the way that you can do that. All right, we also have closures in database factory sequences. So Taylor himself contributed these closure support in factory sequences. The closure is invoked each time the sequence needs a new value. So there's an example that's given here. So now with Laravel, I think it must have been, was it 7 or 8, where instead of doing factory user class, you now do user : factory. Which one was that in Laravel 7?
The factory
I feel like it
class
was.
was brought in Laravel 8.
Okay, maybe it was it. There we go. I get mixed up sometimes between Laravel 8 and like PHP 8. I forget which one because I'm like, we haven't upgraded to PHP 8 yet, but I think we're definitely on Laravel 8. So anyway, so here's how this works. So you say user factory count 10 state, and then you can introduce this new sequence. And so in this sequence now you have this closure and where you can get a random value for a particular user role, for example, and then you can call create. So within that state column where you would normally say, hey, I want a user that is a admin, right? Or I want a user that is an editor, or I want a user that is a, I don't know what else, what would you have? Moderator, something like
Mhm.
that. Um, you might have states set up for each one of those user types maybe in your factory, um, and you want to be able to grab a different one of those types each time you're calling the user create method, right? That you're using this factory. Well, now you can just introduce this sequence, and the sequence is called each time that this factory is spun up. And so it's really, it looks very, very simple once you see the code. Again, it's kind of like one of those things. I'm trying to explain it as easily as I can. Once you see the code, it's really, really simple. But you get this you get this little closure that gets called every single time the factory gets called, and so you can provide a new value for, in this example, the state, really, really simply. So that's pretty cool. We have this collect method that's been added to the HTTP client response. So Luke Downing contributed a collect method on the HTTP client response, and this will retrieve HTTP JSON responses as a collection. So if you call HTTP get, and then you say whatever the URL is that you're wanting to do, and then arrow collect, it's basically syntactic sugar for if you were to get the JSON result of whatever's coming back from that endpoint, and then wrapping that with a collect, right? So instead of getting the JSON and then wrapping it with a collect, you can just now call collect, and it will basically grab the JSON and collect it for you into a collection. So it's a nice little helper there. So there are a couple other bug fixes, and there's a diff between 8.28 and 8.29 on GitHub. There's also some release notes in the show notes here as well if you're interested in checking those out. On to the last release, my friend.
The last one is possibly the most exciting one, depending on where you sit. The last one is the next version of Laravel Spark is now available and is one of the most significant updates to Laravel Spark since it has been released. Some of the key features include paddle support, an isolated billing portal that you can set up from complete scratch in 10 minutes, and more. So the latest Laravel Spark version provides a turnkey billing portal to handle user subscriptions using your choice of either Stripe or Paddle or even PayPal. Users can fully manage their subscription with options for monthly, annual, and per seat basis. And since Spark is isolated from the rest of your application, it does not lock in what technologies you use to build your SaaS application itself. Spark being isolated as a billing portal also means upgrades are much simpler since Spark doesn't interfere with your application code. So if you had used Spark in its previous version, it kind of assumed that you were using it as the basis for your entire SaaS application. So it gave you scaffolding for your user profile management and things like that. So that was kind of pulled out of Spark and released as a standalone thing with Laravel Jetstream and with Breeze. And then the billing stuff is literally this isolated billing portal, which works a lot like what Stripe Checkout does, for example, where it takes you to another page that's branded for your application. You can put your logo in there and your color scheme and things like that, but it's just the billing aspects. Developers can now choose from Stripe, which was previously available in the Spark Classic, as well as Paddle. Both options also include support for PayPal as a payment provider as well. And because Paddle functions as the merchant of record and offers services in virtually every country in the world, Paddle will also handle VAT for you, so you don't have to worry about that if you are serving customers and collecting VAT in European countries. Spark allows your customers to download PDF invoices and handles emailing your customers monthly or annually their billing reminders. And it allows you to set up subscriptions using an easy configuration. So you just quickly set up the available subscription options and products and plans and things like that in a PHP config file. And once you configure your settings, Spark is ready for subscribers via the billing portal. Spark is available for purchase starting at $99 per project and $199 for unlimited projects, meaning you can use Spark on as many SaaS applications as you want for $199. Both prices do include 1 year of updates, so be sure to check out the licensing on that for details. And if you're ready to get started, you can check out Spark at spark.laravel.com. We'll have links to all of that in the show notes. And if you haven't already seen it, I think we did talk about it in the previous episode.
I think
Taylor
we did.
put out a really good video. I think it was about 12 minutes where he goes through basically setting up Spark from a completely fresh Laravel application, getting Laravel installed, getting Jetstream up. Well, I think he used Breeze actually, getting Breeze up and running and then adding Spark on top of it and configuring it all. So, get that bit up and running out the way and you can jump straight into building your application itself.
Yeah, that video was awesome. It was such good, it was totally like how there's this trend with intro music on podcasts, like stop doing that, just like cut it down real short and just get right to it. And Taylor did exactly that. He's like, all right, let's jump into it. Boom. And it was like content immediately from the first and it's like none of it was really over your head either. Like all of it's very simple to configure. So yeah, well done. Well done, Taylor and team. This newest version of Spark is really awesome. Looking forward to using this on some of our own stuff. Okay, on to the news, my friends. We've got Laracon Online 2021 coming to you live on March 17th. No hotels, no airfare. All you have to do is just sign up and then spend the day watching some of the best speakers right from your computer or with a local dev meetup if you're comfortable doing so. So this year's lineup is all about the internals team, and here's the lineup that we've got so far. So diving in, I say so far, this is the final lineup. Diving the queue with Mohammed Syed. The final Laravel service container talk with Christoph Rumpel. We've got routing service with Bobby Bauman, Laravel update with Taylor, the man himself, understanding Laravel broadcasting with Marcel, understanding foundation, the thing that ties everything together with Miguel, and then you're going to hit the last name. What is it?
Miguel Piedrafita. He didn't correct me last time, so either he didn't hear it or I got it perfectly right.
Yeah, right. Either he doesn't care or we actually got it right. Doing small things with Livewire and Alpine with Caleb Porzio, and then Laravel's Artisan Console component with Nuno Maduro. And Nuno, I think for his talk, a lot of these people are actually doing like live coding and stuff as they do, right? They're masochistic in that way. They like to really stress themselves out about doing code live during talks. But Nuno was like, yeah, I'm pretty much going to rewrite the Artisan console on the air there. So yeah, if you missed last year's event, you can also watch the Laracon Online 2020 videos to catch a glimpse and kind of catch up on what to expect when you're attending a new, when you're not attending the Laravel online event. And so part of the excitement of Laracon is the chance to network and make new connections and all those things, right? And so each year we also have a dedicated Discord and discourse chat before, during, and after the event. So you can discuss the talks as they're happening. You can swap any notes that you have, make new friends from around the globe. That's awesome. And as always, of course, swag is a big part of every conference. And so we've arranged some top-notch digital swag for all attendees. So you can get things like discounts on Laravel courses or community things that have been going on that maybe you haven't gotten a chance to grab yet. Lots of good stuff there. So you can get your tickets today. I believe tickets are $30 a piece, and you can get those at, I'm going to hit it up here. It is laracon.net. Yeah. Yeah, really looking forward to this. I also want to give a huge shout out to the website, which looks amazing. Really huge fan of this, and a team that we got Kaneko and Flick Nelson, who developed this site, designed to develop this site. It looks incredible. So shout out to this design and development Portuguese co-op. These guys did a great job on this, and basically they took the Laravel logo, and there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think six, and there's two additional ones. I think there's 8 talks, and they kind of got each little square in that logo, each little cube inside the logo is a different one of the talks. Really creative idea. I'm stoked. They've got some posters as well as T-shirts and stuff that they're going to be selling with this logo, and I can't wait to get my hands on them. I'm gonna get one of the black and white one. I'm gonna get one of the crazy wild colored one and put them on my wall at work. It looks so cool. So nice job, guys. Way to go.
Yes, absolutely. And next up, we have Laravel Sail has added support for choosing which services you'd like installed. So Laravel Sail was released a little while ago, and it's a lightweight command line interface for interacting with Laravel's default Docker environment, which recently launched a new update that allows you to choose which services should be configured in your project's Docker Compose YAML file. So if you were to do this, you can configure whether the Docker Compose file will include MySQL, PGSQL, Redis, Memcache, Search, Selenium, and Mailhog. So to install or to get a new application up and running using Sail, there is a curl command that you run. It's https://laravel.build/app name. And then if you pass it the with query parameter, you can specify a comma-separated list of these different services that you want included as part of your default stack. So if you're building something lightweight and you don't need MySQL and you don't need Redis, then you can just omit it. But if you want only specific things, like if you need to have Redis, for example, then you can just go !with equals Redis, and that will give you some finer grained controls. Save you from pulling down a new thing and then going through the Docker Compose file and deleting all the things that you don't need. So if you need more information on this new option, in case I was unclear, and it's quite possible that I was because I just read out a URL over there, you can consult the user guide, which we'll have links to in the show notes.
Very good. We've got a brand new video series out there by Nuno Maduro that's helping every one of us who are not familiar yet with Laravel Vapor become familiar with it. So Learn Laravel Vapor is a video series by Nuno Maduro, and it walks you through everything, including creating an account, deploying your project, choosing a runtime, logging, and more. And for those of you who might not be familiar with Vapor, I know there's a lot of things. I was actually just talking about this with one of my developers the other day. There's a lot of new stuff, right? There's Sail, there's Breeze, there's Jetstream, there's Spark, there's what's the one that's like a lightweight API stuff? I can't remember. The API authentication.
Fortify, Sanctum.
Sanctum, right?
Yeah.
And then Fortify is kind of like behind that. So there's just a lot of things, right? So I don't want to take for granted the fact that everybody knows what Laravel Vapor is. It's been around for a while, but I'm just going to talk about it real quick. So it's a serverless deployment platform for Laravel powered by AWS. So that's what this is. So if you wanted to deploy your Laravel infrastructure on AWS serverless, this is the way to do it, Laravel Vapor. So if you've not heard of that, or if you have heard of it and haven't had a chance to jump in, or you're already using it but would like to know a little bit more, this is a great video series to do that. So has preparing your local development environment, adding a project, making deployments, choosing your runtimes, taking care of your assets, right, which is something that you kind of need to know about when you're in this serverless sort of space, attaching your domain, executing artisan commands, logging and debugging, et cetera, et cetera. So it's got all of that stuff. Nuno, of course, is an amazing screencaster. He does a really good job explaining things in a very easy to understand way. So you can definitely check this out. And of course, if you don't have a Laravel Vapor account, plans are $39 a month or $399 annually, saving yourself 2 months worth of costs. So yeah, definitely check this out. They've also got extensive developer documentation that walks through all the features of Vapor in great detail as well. Taylor and that team always does a great job with their documentation. So if reading is more your jam, you can check that out as well. Hey, wanted to give a quick shout out to our sponsor. So, Scout APM, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, is an application performance monitoring tool designed to help you as a PHP developer quickly find and fix performance issues without having to deal with the headache of enterprise platforms. Huge enterprise platforms that just take a lot of space and are heavy, right? Feel really heavy. So, Scout has a developer-centric UI and tracing logic that ties your source code to the problem so that you can quickly pinpoint and resolve performance abnormalities like N+1 queries or slow database queries or memory bloat and things like that. So you can spend less time debugging your code and more time building your new features. It's got real-time alerting, weekly digest emails, so you can rest easy knowing that Scout's on watch for you. You can give it a try today for 14 days free and experience why PHP developers are really enjoying Scout and using it on their projects. New startup plan pricing starts at $39 a month. And for Laravel News listeners, Scout will donate $5 to the open source project of your choice when you deploy. You can learn more at scoutapm.com/Laravel News. Thanks so much, Scout. We appreciate it.
In other free video tutorial courses, the Tailwind CSS team have released a new course called Tailwind CSS from Zero to Production. It's a new screencast series that teaches you everything you need to know to get up and running with Tailwind. You need to know to get up and running with Tailwind CSS v2 from scratch. Join instructor Simon Vrashliotis as he takes you through an 8-part series that walks you through everything from the initial setup process to building out a responsive design with utility classes to customizing your design system to optimizing for production with Purge CSS. You can watch the entire series on YouTube and grab the source code for each lesson on GitHub. We will have links to all of that in the show notes.
So Simon, is he?
He's
I feel
my
like
boy.
he's your boy. So tell me, he's not from Australia, is he?
No, he is from.
He's like from Sweden or something, right?
No. He's from the great land of Switzerland.
Switzerland. Thank you. I knew it was SW.
He speaks French and he lives in Sydney.
Okay. See,
But
I
yeah.
knew it was like this mashup of whatever. Was he at Laracon AU?
He spoke at the inaugural Laracon AU on the company that he was working at the time, their journey to utility first CSS. And it was fortunate he got to be there at the same time that Steve and Adam were there as well. So they they caught up and they hit it off, and the opportunity came up as Tailwind Labs grew to get him on board, and he's been doing a really, really good job of teaching, of being the community person, going and just speaking with different people, getting them up to speed with what Tailwind is and what utility CSS is, and just really doing a bang up job with all of the content that he's putting out for Tailwind. So kudos to him, and congrats to Adam and Steve on having him join the team.
A great hire, man. Yeah, seriously. He's done a great job. He does an excellent job with these. And also he does a lot of like code pen stuff too, to be like, hey, did you know you could do this with Tailwind? Right? Like it's pretty cool. I'm waiting for his course on jump shots. Have you seen his basketball videos?
He's got a sweet jump shot. He's got a sweet jumper.
My gosh. Dude, like, okay, because he put one video, his son was shooting baskets, and I was like, okay, wow, like his son's pretty good. Like it was impressive. And then I don't know why, like what the purpose was or kind of what the context was, but I just had a video of him shooting jump shots, and he shot like 6 in a row, like 3-pointers. I'm pretty sure just like boom, 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 boom. It was incredible. I was like, what in the world? So if he didn't have a career in here, maybe he would go like semi-pro NBA. I don't know. It was fun to watch anyway. So
yeah.
If we ever get a chance to get together again, like if Laracon, like actually the real meetup ever happens again, that'd be super cool to get a basketball game together and just get smoked by Simon. That'd be fun.
Yeah. I'll wear him like a glove.
Moving along. What's that now?
I'll wear him like a glove. You ain't getting past me.
All right. So Laravel Breeze, which we just talked about a little bit ago, which is sort of the auth starter kit for Laravel, now has an inertia JS option. So you can use this to create a minimal starting point for building Laravel applications with inertia. So Taylor asked on Twitter, maybe last week or whenever it was, like, "Hey, I built this. Should I ship it? Should I put this out there?" And everybody's like, "Yes, please do." And so now all you have to do is PHP artisan breeze install -- inertia, and that will be enough to get you started. So if you'd like to learn more, I suggest looking at a new Laravel app and installing Breeze. Just just go start a brand new app, use the inertia flag, and then try it out. Right, it's the easiest way to try this. So pretty cool. Thanks, Taylor, for that. I know for all of us who love inertia, this is a welcome addition. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Livewire version 2.4 was just released and added support for a -- test option when running the PHP artisan livewire : make command. The new test option, when included, will scaffold a test class for the component in the test feature livewire directory, similar to the PHP artisan make test command. And this will get you set up with a basic test scaffold that gives you, component equals livewire : test example component, and then component assert status 200. So if you're going through your Laravel projects or using Livewire in your projects and you're creating a lot of components and a lot of tests, it's one of those, developer happiness things, developer experience things that, you're probably going to need a test when you do this. So rather than two separate commands and then scaffolding it all out every time, you can just make your component and tack on the test option and it'll be there for you ready to go straight away. So nice little quality of life improvement for the Livewire users out there.
Yeah, it looks like Jason Beggs might have been the actual creator of this one. He says at the bottom of this article that he's been working on a lot of Livewire projects lately, and he had the idea to create this option in order to save him and some other Livewire users time. So nice job, Jason. That dude's awesome. And we've been using Livewire a lot at work, actually. I've really been enjoying it. It didn't take me much of a push to get one of my other developers using it. Everybody's got that guy on their team that's a little bit like averse to, they just know what works, right? They know what works. They know how their workflow goes. They've got their route, their controller, their job, and they know how to write their test. And they're just happy doing that, right? And it's fine.
Yeah. And they don't want life to be easier. They want it to just be the same.
Yeah. Well, also just because like every new trend that comes along, sometimes it's not easier, right? So I pushed him a couple times on a few things, just like, hey, dude, like this is really great. You should try this in Livewire. Like just take an afternoon and try it in Livewire and see if you like it any better. Just see what it feels like. And so the other day he unprompted just made a brand new little thing in Livewire and just pushed it up like without saying anything. And I was like, yeah, man, I got it. Like he's on the train now. So he likes it. He likes it a lot. So that's pretty cool.
An old colleague of mine was the same. I was out for a run the other week and I get a message from him and he's like, so I spent all day on Livewire. I'm like, are you feeling well? Like he was very pro Vue. Like he loves Vue and he kept on trying to shim Vue and like he'd bring in giant freaking JavaScript libraries every time he wanted to show a modal. I'm like, just use window.confirm. We don't need a big pretty, sweet alert here. Just use window.
Right,
no, he had to bring in these libraries and all, and he was very pro Vue. He's like, why would you use Livewire? That's not nice. And then out of the blue, he's like, so I was doing all this stuff with Blade components, and then I needed some interactivity, so I thought I would try out Livewire. And I'm like, yeah, because if you'd brought in Vue at this point, you'd have to go and rewrite absolutely everything, but you already had the components, and now you just shove them into Livewire, and you're off to the races.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. I've been really been enjoying it. Okay, onward and upward here. So we had a reader question, which we always love this, right? When people write in or ask a question on Twitter or whatever, we get a chance to talk about this. So Steve McDougall asked a question to Eric on Twitter about the Laravel News redesign and the relaunch of Laravel News on Statamic. So his question was, or his statement more, was, I'd love to read a write-up by someone on the Laravel News team about how they've adapted Statamic, how they've adapted to Statamic. What made them choose a CMS over others? Would be really interested to see how they may have had to adapt and any unforeseen benefits they may have found. So Eric was solely, I'm pretty sure, the one who made that decision. And so he decided to write this up real quick. So it's not super long, so I'll try and kind of read through some of it. He's got some screenshots in here that might make it a little more clear, but here we go. So Eric said he had his eye on Statamic since it very first launched. Looking at my Statamic purchase history, I've been a customer since version 1, but never felt the time was right. They recently launched version 3 last year and moved it to a more Laravel package style setup. So you can add Statamic to an existing Laravel app, which is really nice. So that meant that we could keep a lot of things in the existing secondary code that runs Laravel News. Previously, Laravel News was a WordPress headless sort of app, I believe. And so we would publish the things in WordPress, and then we'd use that to kind of pull everything over to a Laravel app and update our database. It was a little bit of a Frankenstein. So with Statamic, it felt a lot more native, I guess, right? So these are the things like the links section, the automated daily newsletter, the account management. Knowing we could keep all of that and then gain a new control panel to write and publish posts was kind of the thing that pushed it over the edge. So another advantage is that Statamic allows you to mix and match with the database and flat files. We already had users in a table. We had this weird mismatch with our old system where we had article authors in 2 different systems, our users table, and a WordPress site. So manually syncing those authors made it difficult with guest posts, things like that. So aside of that, we always wanted the site to utilize the Laravel community as much as possible, and supporting creators that are also our peers was enticing. So Jack McDade being another Laravel dev that we all know and love. So adapting to Statamic then was a learning process, and Eric admits there's still a lot to learn here, but it's been pretty easy from a day-to-day publishing standpoint. So all the articles on the site are in a single Statamic collection with about 14 different field sets for each post. Michael and myself are actually both also learning Statamic as we speak. We're both kind of like testing the waters, dipping our toes in there. We've got our own projects that we're working on that we're going to be kind of trying Statamic out. So some of this is new to me as well. So they basically match what we used in WordPress for the old site. So the publishing aspect of things didn't change very much. He talks a little bit about static caching. He talks about all the different posts that we have with dozens of categories and tags, and the number of static files it generates is quite large, but it's been working really well. We've paired it with static caching so that we have a section of the site that needs fresh data. We can use Alpine.js to grab the data, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to go through the entire thing. I think it would take a little while here to explain everything. In any case, if that's something that you're interested in hearing about and how that whole conversion went, I think I've covered most of the high-level topics here, but you can read a little bit more about the finer points if you'd like to in this post. We'll put that in the show notes. Overall, quite happy with how things have turned out, and interested in starting to learn the process of switching over, or of Statamic, just using Statamic in general myself. It's been a fun process so far.
Next up, we have the ability to generate GitHub Actions config for Laravel projects with GuyGen. GuyGen is a GitHub Actions configurator for your Laravel applications. The project features an open source Laravel application that you run locally in order to generate an action.yaml file via a graphical interface. Once you configure the actions you want in your app, you can generate the YAML and copy paste it directly into your project's actions.yaml file and commit that into GitHub to run your GitHub Actions. Some of the things you can configure via the GUI for your projects is to select triggering events, whether that be manually or automatically when the developer pushes code on a specific branch or a developer creates a new pull request. You can select branches, enable caching for your vendors, enable caching for PHP packages, select from multiple PHP versions from 7.3, 7.4 up to 8.0. Select multiple Laravel versions from 6 through 8. Useful if you are developing a Laravel package and you want to test with multiple Laravel versions. You can select the Node version for NPM. Caching of Node packages, setting up a MySQL service, running migrations, executing tests via PHP unit, doing static code analysis, running code sniffer via PHP CS for PSR 12 compatibility, validating your YAML file, and executing browser tests using Laravel Dusk. So I always find myself getting a working YAML config for GitHub Actions and then just finding the one that I did and then copying and pasting it into the next one. So having a UI to just generate a specific thing, because then otherwise you have to go and remove things. If I've got a GitHub Actions configuration for a package, which is going to try and test, Laravel 6, 7, and 8, and it's going to try all the supported versions of PHP and all of that, you find yourself having to go and get rid of all of that configuration and you forget it. And then, So having something that you can just tick some boxes and say, yeah, I want it to do this, this, and this, and it'll just spit out a config file that you can add to your project and then push to GitHub is nice and easy. So this is a project from Roberto Butti. So thank you very much for that, Roberto.
Yeah, we actually just shifted. So we've used Travis for forever for our testing, and we just switched over. Mr. Wilbur Powery switched over one of our projects. Actually, it was a new project, so we didn't switch it over. He just started out using GitHub Actions to handle our PHP unit stuff. And so we'll probably be using that all together. It seems like they run a little bit faster too, actually, than they did on Travis. You've experienced the same? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so we've been using this, and we'll probably we haven't used this project yet, Gaijin, to do that, but it looks really great. So thank you very much, Mr. You said his name a minute ago.
Booty.
Anyway, that guy. Okay. Hey, speaking of Statamic, we're going to hop back to Statamic land for a minute here. So Rob DeCourt is a freelancer with 15 years of experience in teaching usability design and web development, and this guy is a Statamic user. And so he basically created, when Statamic 3 came out, he took all the things that he had learned since Statamic version 1 and 2 and rewrote all of that into a big starter kit called Peak. So Peak is an opinionated starter kit for all of your Statamic sites, and it's really for if you are a developer who's doing a client site and you want to be able to get started with that as quickly as possible. That's what this is for. So a default vanilla Statamic install is awesome, but there's a lot of things that you might want to do in every single client site, such as having like an SEO integration. And so he has that. He has that all figured out and all included in the starter kit. And this is actually what I've used to get started with Statamic as well. So this is exactly where I started, was using Peak. So it's got a full page builder, SEO integration. It's got Tailwind and Alpine out of the box with Purge CSS working as well. So it's just got a lot of really good stuff in there. If you're looking to get set up using Statamic to handle a client site, this is a great spot to be. He also takes like some of his hard-learned lessons, such as how clients will screw up your websites that you give them, right? Like ultimately, if you're wanting to use Statamic, it's probably because your client wants to be able to edit or create their own pages. So Statamic has this concept of different templates for your different page types. So you can say create like a different different template type. So you could say like, hey, this is a blog post template page, and this is a maybe this is a a sponsor page or something like that. And you can do that, and that's fine.
2-column layout.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff.
Right. But we've all been burned by like, hey, client, like this is the page you should use when you're doing this type of thing, and they don't. They use the wrong page type, right?
Or they paste something
they can't
out
figure
of Microsoft Word in there.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, that happens, right? So, while you can make different templates for all your page types, the idea here is to make your pages as modular as possible without giving your customer that much freedom to ruin your design. So every unique element of your website could be a partial, a Statamic template part, and then a dedicated button in the page builder. So you have, anyway, that's what I'm talking about when I say he takes some of these hard-learned lessons. His page builder sort of takes that into account. So he doesn't really have this idea of templates, which he just kind of sets to the side as a Statamic sort of thing and says, hey, nope, let's just have a page builder that just uses your partials in order to like stack them up as a bunch of rows in a long single column, and then he spaces them all out using Tailwind, which is of course adjustable in your Tailwind stuff. So looks really great, works really well, and there is actually a Discord channel out there as well where you can ask questions if you have any questions about this specific starter kit. So like I said, I've been using it, really excited to continue to dig into it, but definitely check that out if you're interested in starting on the Statamic train.
On the topic of scaffolding and themes and things like that, Laravel Fema is a package that adds a multi-theme support for your Laravel applications. It also provides a simple authentication, scaffolding, and presets for Bootstrap, Tailwind, Vue, and React as a starting point for building a Laravel application. The Laravel Thema package, in the author's opinion, Harish Kumar, is a better alternative to the official UI and Breeze packages because of the following features. It contains any number of themes, has fallback theme support such as that you will find in WordPress, which allows creating a child theme to extend from any base theme. It provides authentication scaffolding similar to Laravel UI and Laravel Breeze and exports all of the auth controllers, tests, and others similar to Breeze. It provides front-end presets, as I said, for Bootstrap, Tailwind, Vue 2, Vue 3, and React. If you don't want to use the package's auth scaffolding and instead you want to use Fortify, you can do that using Laravel Fema with Fortify, which is a front-end agnostic authentication package for Laravel and does not provide views for the front-end presets. So using Fortify for the back-end authentication and Fema for your views and presets is a nice little match there. It's a simple composer require away. You can vendor publish some assets and then use PHP Artisan make theme in order to get a new theme up and running, and it'll run you through naming the theme, selecting the CSS framework, the JavaScript framework, and publishing the auth scaffolding or not. Use middleware to set themes and provides you a number of theme methods via a theme facade and configuration inside of Webpack. So this was put together by Harish Kumar, who is a full stack web developer that teaches web development on practical with practical screencast on Kira Lab. So there is actually a video tutorial as part of the Laravel Thema package here. So you can check that out if that is something of interest to you. I know that the Laravel UI and Breeze and that they're quick scaffolding starter points. They are quite opinionated and in what they kind of look and feel like. So if you want a little bit more control over your own themes, then this may be something that you want to look at. Sometimes if you're working at an agency, for example, you might want to customize the look and feel of these things, per client site. And it might be easier to sort of start from scratch using Fortify and building your own UIs out than it would be using the default stuff that comes with Laravel. So it's a good option if that's something that you're interested in. So definitely check it out.
Absolutely. Last item we have here is a tutorial. And if you visit the new Laravel News website, you'll find in certain spots this animated scrolling card. And it's basically advertising all the different jobs that are available out there on laraveljobs.com. And so it looks really cool. So somebody, his name is Chris Sev. He's the author of Beginner Tailwind, which I believe is a paid course. I think so. Let me just double check this. Yeah, it's $40. It's on sale right now for $40. But he put together a YouTube video on his Better Tev channel that rebuilds the Laravel Jobs scrolling card using Tailwind. I watched this, and Chris does a really great job. Chris is a good teacher, and this is actually the first time I've heard of him, maybe because I'm more like in Laravel land than in Tailwind land. But it's a really simple method that he used here and shows the power of Tailwind and how you can really design directly in the browser. So I'm pretty sure he does the whole thing in like a code pen. Mm-hmm. But the original on our site, on the Laravel News site, was designed and coded by Zangle. And after watching the tutorial, Eric decided to figure out how it's done, and they did it through the Tailwind config.js file. Then they used 3 different classes. So it's interesting how we all approach these problems in slightly different ways, and it's rare that 2 people will solve the same problem exactly the same way. So it's interesting just to kind of see Eric break it down here on the blog post to say this is how Zangle solved it, and then Chris goes through and shows this is how he solved it. So in any case, it was kind of a fun watch, and Eric walks through here as well, just talking about exactly how we built it on our side, and Chris does a great job explaining how you could build it if you wanted to build something like that using Tailwind. So yeah, overall, really fun watch and fun read both. Hey, everybody, that's it. That's what we've got for our show today. Mr. Dorinda, any comments before we say goodbye to the people?
Nothing to add at this time.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again, Scout, for sponsoring this episode. Again, you can learn more about them at scoutapm.com/Laravel News. This was episode 137. If you'd like to find show notes for this episode, you can find them at podcast.laravel-news.com/137. Of course, we always love to hear from the peoples, so hit us up on Twitter at Michael Dorinda, at Jacob Bennett, or at Laravel News. And if you enjoyed the show, we would really appreciate it if you'd rate us up in your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars would be amazing. All right, everybody. Well, if you have a hyper child eating you out of house and home like Michael does, I wish you well. And if not, hey, consider yourself Lucky that you don't have as large of a grocery bill as Mr. Dorinda does. And with that, we'll see you in a fortnight.
Farewell.